disability of your child. So, but my parents, they went out there and explain others my situation and try to find options. So, so while I was looking for options, I understood that there is no cure for this disease. So I need to prepare myself for the future. So I joined Sri Lanka Council for the Blind Rehabilitation Program. I still remember the first day I went there. That's the first time I interacted with many visually impaired students. In the rehabilitation, I had like 4 sessions. First session was about mobility. It means how to use the wide cane when traveling. And the second session I had computer. Computer means how to use the computer with screen readers, only with sounds. Screen reader is something that a software that we use to read everything in the screen. We don't see the screen. Actually, we work with the sound. So the third session, I had Braille. I had to learn Braille. And the final session, we had games. Games means we had sessions. They taught us to play chess with a special chessboard. So after completing that course, I then joined the Employers Federation of Ceylon ICT training program. From there, I got more knowledge about computer screen readers and I made myself employable. So after I became visually impaired, I did sports as swimming, para swimming, para chess, and also I was a member of the Sri Lankan Council for the Blind cricket team as well. So while I was with my friends, visually impaired friends, I saw that there are many entrepreneurs with disabilities who make their own product, but they didn't have the market to sell their product. So with my IT background, I understood that I should do something for them. So what I did was I collected all the details of entrepreneurs with disabilities, and I created a website, like an online store, where people who need those products and services can contact them directly without any middleman. So that's one of the things I did when I was studying at Sri Lanka Council for the Blind. And also I maintained a web blog called VIP as VIP. It is visually impaired people as very important people. So in that blog, I updated many things like events of persons with visual impairment, news and everything. Yeah. So that brings me to the second life lesson I wanted to share with you. If you complain, you will remain. If you praise, you'll raise. So actually, I had many reasons to complain because I had my vision and I lost it. So I had many reasons to complain that I can't do this because I can't see. But actually, I focused more on the things that I could do. So if I would have complained about my disability, I'm sure I will be in the same place and I will be inside my home. And because I was focusing on more the things that I can do, so that's what made me to learn everything and to do sports, to do things for persons with disabilities. So so I think it's important for us to write, to identify the things that we have rather than focusing on the things that we don't have. Just give me a second. Say something. Just give me a second. Recording. Yeah. Now I'm in the slide.
The slide is on. It's okay.
In the next slide. I mean,
When you complain, you remain.
it's in that slide, right?
Yeah.
Now it's in. I want to go to the next slide.
Okay.
All right. So So just I just want to show this is what happens when you complain. So just take a couple of seconds to read it. Okay. So I would like to talk about some of my achievements. Uh, as I said, when I joined Sri Lanka Council for the Blind, I got the opportunity to learn chess for the first time. So I was really interested about that game. So what I did was I studied a lot, but there are not much materials for visually impaired students. But uh, the chess for the blind in Sri Lanka first started in mid 1990s, but I became the first Sri Lankan visually impaired chess player to play in an international rated tournament organized for sighted players. And I also became the first Sri Lankan visually impaired chess player to get the international ratings by defeating sighted chess players. So after I became visually impaired, I got the opportunity to work closely with sports legends in Sri Lanka, such as Julian Bowling sir in swimming and TDR PD sir in chess. So while working with them so closely, I got the opportunity to learn from them how passionate they are towards their sport and how committed they are. So those kind of things I was able to learn by working together with them. And after I became visually impaired, I also got the opportunity to work and to learn from stories of inspiring persons such as Miss Manik Gunaratne. So those kind of visually impaired persons, I learned many things from their stories. So also after I became visually impaired, I got the opportunity to represent my country in many international sports events. Um, After I became visually impaired, I also got the opportunity to visit different countries for studies as well. So I've been repeating this phrase after I became visually impaired, I got the opportunity. So that brings me to the third and final life lesson I wanted to share with you all. In middle of difficulties lies opportunities. So this is a famous saying by Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein is really famous to say complicated things in simple words. So this is something really true that I believe. So it's important that when we are in a difficult situation, there are many opportunities. It's up to us to find those opportunities to win our challenges. So if I summarize the three life lessons I shared today, difficult situation in difficult situations in life comes suddenly when we are least expecting. When we are faced with a difficult situation, don't take it as the end. Take it as a bend in life towards success. And also don't complain. Always focus on the things that you have, and also use those things to improve yourself as well as to help others as well. So the final life lesson is in middle of difficulties lies opportunities. So try to find opportunities in a challenge that will definitely take you to the next level in your life. When you're faced with a challenge, always remember that that every dark cloud has a silver lining. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, sir. These are three great life lessons. But I'd like first to ask you something before we ask the others. Since it's been like 2 years that we were hit by COVID-19. In your case, being a little visually impaired, how did you overcome the challenge of COVID-19?
Actually, I think I was blessed. I was privileged because I had a job. I was working as a human resource learning and development uh, professional. So from my organization, they let me to work from home the entire 2 years. So so that was one of my opportunities I got. But for if I didn't have the job, or if I was affected with the COVID definitely I would have stayed at home, and I would have learned many things from the internet. I would have learned a new language, or I would have improved my IT skills through internet. Definitely, I would have done that if I was affected in COVID and stayed at home.
That's right. So actually, COVID-19 has taught us to be resilient, right? And to be stronger, because that
Yeah.
probably is one of the phenomenal challenge in everybody's life. I mean, people around the globe, right, sir?
Yes, and I was actually, as I said, I was in charge of all the interns. I was managing the internship program in my company. So one of the key skills I had to add for the interns was how to be resilient. So I had to create many programs for them regarding that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'd like to ask a question about life's lesson. This is all about if you complain. Now, we are just human. Sometimes we complain. Okay, in your case, when others complain about you, how do you handle it? Because you have a position.
You mean others complain about me? Means
Yeah, example. How do you handle that?
Okay, so I try to understand their situation first, and I try to find opportunities for them and to just tell them without complaining, you can try this this option. So that's what I will do normally. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe to say you have to be a good listener first.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And having listened to them, somehow you put yourself in their shoes. That's being empathetic.
Yeah, that is empathic. Yeah, being empathy. Yeah.
And okay, you have your life lesson one, when we less expect. Now, some people say too much expectation sometimes leads to disappointment. Do you agree?
I agree, partially agree, but actually, expectations are the things that makes us live. Actually, the goals and everything. So it's you need to identify your strengths first. I think, what are your strengths, and according to that, you can set your goals and expectations. I think that's the best way to go forward. Yeah.
That's right. And sometimes our environment, that means that includes the people around us, can definitely help us out to not to lose hope at all, right? That's why we always say, in every dark, always silver lining. That's right, sir.
Yes, definitely. It's when we are challenged, we need to get others' opinion as well, people who are close to us. So that's because they can see what we can't see, because we are inside the challenge. So from the outside, it's important for us to get some opinion as well. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for telling us about life. This is really something important to consider. Enjoy the rest of the day, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Tuan, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Wow, that's really something nice. It's now time for us to move on to the next one. So our next speaker is from Nepal. The topic is limits and the limits of JEDC. So let's find out what JEDC is. Here is our sixth speaker, Jilishan Saha. Let's give Sir Jilishan is ready. Hi, sir. Good morning.
Hello. Hi, Jimmy sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What about you there? How are you?
Yeah. Pretty cool. Wonderful, right? It's a long session. It's going on for a long time. And probably our audiences might be feeling a little tired. So I'll try my best to question and query, answer your queries and questions, and at the same time debunk your understanding, your myth of disability, gender, at the same time gender. Disability?
That's right.
Disability, then equality, right? Gender, equality, disability, and social inclusion. That is, in short, it's called JEDC. Well, before I begin, definitely I want to have questions with our participants. Hello, everybody, all of you. My name is Jilishan. I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to discuss on this JEDC. Right? When we talk about Jetsi or gender equality, what kinds of picture pops in your mind? Anybody feel free before I say anything? Come on, speak up.
Okay, you can probably unmute your microphone now. This is being interactive. This is all about sharing ideas. Okay, and for me, when you say gender equality, it means regardless of what your gender is, you are given opportunities in the society.
Yeah. Thank you, GB sir.
Other ideas?
Yeah, come on, guys. It's for
Yeah,
a
guys,
long time we've been.
ideas. It's nice to be interactive with one another. Before our last speaker talks about gender equality, disability, and social inclusion, a far-fetched dream. Any other?
Yeah, please go ahead, all of you.
We have here somebody who says everyone can, no matter what the gender may be. From L. John Adelante. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any other ideas?
Come on.
Come on, guys. Don't be shy.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. You've already heard Chinda, her full story. Similarly, Tuan and our friend Mutu, he dived into the history of this art presented so well. Guys, my presentation is based on a little bit theoretically. Yeah, and I'll be definitely highlighting and at the same time debunking, is it really equality, or in the name of equality, we are creating inequalities? At the same time, I will be highlighting that disability, social inclusion, is it, have we already achieved it, or it's a long, long journey? So, I'm going to begin all of you. Okay. Since I'm talking to at the last, that's why maybe a little problem. I will be diving into the history, or diving into how it began. What was the situation of this disability in the beginning, or what kinds of written history do we have? From there till now, I'll be talking to you about. Hello, Jimmy, sir. Are you saying anything? Hello, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, Jimmy, sir. Shall I? Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I have written over here, gender equality, disability, and social inclusion are far-fetched dream. So in today's conversation, slightly, I'll just quickly highlight on my topic, limits and delimits of JETSU. Right? I'll focus, and at the same time, I must have to keep in my mind that it's only around 30 minutes left with the tired audiences. Yet, I love to hear from all of you. So I'll be highlighting over there what does that mean, actually, gender, how it is started. This gender's meaning, in your understanding, at the same time, how we can see this gender, equality, disability, and social inclusion. So here I go. Gender, it's all of you have heard, you have been reading about gender as male or female, but here we see a social construct. Gender as a social construct. The process of appropriation of mind sees the brain, which I've been sharing for a long time in my classes, in my public parlances, at the same time public spheres. I've been talking about this, the process of appropriation of mind and body of women in order to reap the benefit and seize the conscience of awareness. Creating crevasse between and among genders per se. That is what is called including male, female, transgender, gender, neutral, non-binary, and many more. Similarly, we can see pangender, genderqueer. Altogether, there are more than 50 genders have been created in today's context. While talking about this, due to the limitations of this time, at the same time, due to the limitations of the topic, I will basically just highlight and focus on the topic of how we've been moving ahead. This is my endeavor in today's session. Here I go, further. So we see equality, I'll be looking at in this longing and belonging between and among us equality. This is, since it's a long cherished dream, for a long time we've been discussing about this equality. And are we there? This is another question I'll be highlighting. At the same time, disability. Like Jimmy sir in the beginning, he said, handicapped person, but I'm sorry, Jimmy sir, this is the time to correct our even languages, even because this is how we've been oriented. This is how we've been taught. And
Yes.
in today's postmodern era, we are there to debunk the language as well and rewrite it, because we have been longing, we have been fighting and striving for the sake of this equality. Similarly, we are there to see social inclusion. Are we really going to get it? Or it's only a myth? Social inclusion, it's a rallying cry of the postmodern world, debunking the myth of populism, a long battle to go for the dignified life, longings and belongings of us among us. We are there. Nothing is about us without us is the main theory here we have to consider in today's context. So this is how I'm going to discuss with you. After that, I will talk to you about this, how it began. Since I told you in the very beginning, my session is basically focused on that, diving into the history of this, the longings for this JEDC, gender equality, disability and social inclusion, how it is started, when it is started, and why do we need to know? Why do you need to know? Why we have to fight for this struggle, fight for all of us? Because we belong to this world. The way the disability has been understood, and once again we have to understand in a very different way, because very soon we are diving in another world. So historically, International Day of Persons with a Disability, 3rd December, how it started. In 2 minutes, I'll be highlighting among you. Before that, here, the politics of language as well. I'll be talking if the time remains so in my conversation. December 3rd, December 3rd is arguably the pain, pathos, miseries, and untold tale of collective sufferings. I repeat, it's collective sufferings of disabled people in and around the globe. That pain and pathos forced the UN to lay the foundation of the 3rd December to mark Disabled Day internationally. Yeah, we begin this. What is the reason behind this? How we started this? For this very day, for the 3rd of December, people who believed in dignified life, people who dared to dream, not a dismal one, a beautiful dream, a collectively beautiful dream, all have been fighting this fight from the dawn of human civilization. And in today's around 25 minutes conversation, I'll be asking all of you people to trail with me into this untrailed, at the same time, very, very historic journey. We have to know this one. In the very beginning, I told you it's only a short purview. We cannot dive into the whole history. On top of that, it's sweltering heat here in Australia. Since you know this, the topic of my discourse itself is, I use the term called kafi. The topic of my discourse itself is kafi, sufficient enough. I repeat it, to tame or limit my willingness, in other words, to delimit, to stop myself from the digging of the painful collective stories of an unlimited painful world. Yeah, it is. The world of disability, how it was created, how it was constructed and used as a tool of othering people, means how they were thrown. At the same time, I'm elated to present a short preview of the unlimited JEDC. I repeat it once again, short, because and at the same time, my topic is limiting and delimiting of this JEDC. It's a vast ocean we are trying to find out ourselves. We are trying, every individual sufferings will find it over here. Every individual's idea, journeys is stemmed here into the world of GHC. We cannot be far from it. So all of you, thank you. All the August convergence, you've converged over here, you've gathered here. So just two glimpses of the fight for the survival of disability and disabled, and the disability. The term disability, it differs according to time and geography. The meaning of disability and the pain of disabled people is simply brushed off as terming as no worries, buddy, all good, no worries, everything will be all right. This is how people are termed here, no matter wherever you are, whether it's from this able world, from this Chinda's world, or from our Mutu's world. I'm sorry, I might have forgotten some of my friends' name, whom to mention over here. All of we have been living the collective pain together, and we've been fighting together in order to create a beautiful world that is equal world. Maybe I might sound a little utopian, but we are there to achieve it as utopian as well. So guys, nothing is good. It's in the process of being and becoming to be good, because we have started conversing on the topic. That's why we have conversed for today's discourse that is called GHC. Jimmy sir, am I there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Am I clear?
Yes,
Since
you are definitely clear.
It is theoretical. All of we have shared, our friends have shared their narratives, their stories, their pain, their struggles, and I'm diving into the collective struggle and collective pain of the people. That's why mine is a bit different. That's why I may sound a bit jargonous. So, guys, actually, the reading or the misreading, understanding and the misunderstanding of the term GHC, this gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. In general, a disability, especially in particular, varies according to time, as I told you. But all of we are living together, living into the integral world, the heritage of all around us. That's why in this beginning, I want to dive in a 5 to 7 minutes. I'll be presenting you how it began, its history, short purview. It begins from the chapel built in 1100 to protest about accessibility in that 1980s, how it started from 1100 to 1980. And we have been discussing now in 2022, December 3rd, I am diving into the history of 1100 to till now. That's why definitely there might be a little problem with me. So in this short conversation, I invite you all to travel with me into those stories, means long time immemorial, as interested in disability or social history, to explore what the historic environment was to offer. That's why we need to know this our history, because it is there, how it was marginalized from the very beginning, one after another. If we know, then only we'll be able to see in coming days how we're going to talk about this. That's why it is necessary to see or dive into the history. So when we see this story, how the beginning of it, see, the written history starts from this 11th century. Disability was pervasive in medieval England, not now. It could come with the birth and acquired through the one set of disease, such as leprosy. In the beginning, leprosy was uncurable, arise from years of backbreaking war. The leprous or blind, the people were termed as leprous, blinde, dumbe, or deaf, the natural food, the cripple, the lame, the lunatic. Those were the terms given in that medieval era. And that era presents succinctly that the disability consequences of leprosy were more visible in communities. Disability was only, it's because of that leprosy. Rural and urban areas, rich and poor, across around the world, this problem was there, but only British, they had the written history. So we are digging into this. Similarly, we see the response would change both the landscape of country and the mindset of these people. If we see it in a theoretical way, if we'll be able to see how disability was taken in that time and now, we'll be able to create an equal and equitable society in coming days. That's why it is needed to converse. It is needed to discourse in today's context. From 11th century to 14th century, we see as slowly the part of institutionalization. After that, we will jump into disability from 1485 to 1660. What was the conditions? How it happened? So in this era, due to that Great Plague, some of the history students are here in today's conversation. They might know this Great Plague. It was in 1485 to 1660. All the hospitals was closed, and naturally entertaining fools from the era begin politics of orderings. How the Renaissance period started to throw disabled and disability people from the mainstreaming. That will be another topic someday we'll be discussing, but cursory look, if we see, we go there. Similarly, the great change will occur in English society in 16th century after the advent of this great king, King Henry VIII. He dissolved monasteries and assault on monasteries and other buildings. Religious places were there to throw disability, not to take in a other way. And then we see, well, the idea disability and madness had some sort of God-given astrological cause. In that way, it was taken. I said disability has different meaning according to different geography, time, and location. So is the case with this history. When we dive into the history of theology, we also find over there, whether it's in Christianity, whether it's in Hindu or Buddhism, disability had been presented in a very derogatory and derogatory way. However, in today's context, when I was digging the literature into Buddhism, I found very interesting topic. In the beginning, though, disability was taken as a very negative connotation, but later on it has been changed because Buddha in his 80s, mid-80s, senile, tired, and aged man has been portrayed as a disabled person. Buddha, God himself, as a disabled. So we cannot run away from him. We cannot run away from the disability. That's why, what was the situation in the 18th century? See, from very dismal life, they started their fight, disability. This is the age of asylum, and opinions of England were changing dramatically because of that industrial revolution. Gain pace and new towns, factories, railway, mills, and the rural landscape. At the same time, these changes came other new and strange sights. We see. After that, we see in the First World War, World War also caused lots of problem in people's life, or in other words, war, segregation, and the struggle of daily life. Disability from 1945 to 1914 to 1945. We see the pouring or the soaring of disabled people in the society, how they were neglected, how they were killed. I'm coming into it. It's the history. When we see the journey, the saga of disabled people, it's very, very fascinating. You have to see this. That's why I urge all of our friends, to see the history, and the students who are here, you've come here to listen to us. It's a very fascinating history. If you see someday, somewhere in our world, everybody is likely to end up their life eventually as a disabled. Not a person with a disability. There is a politics. I mean, it's a matter of discussion. If we talk about this person with a disability, why it has been created? Because rather than addressing their problem, the society has created, or the state apparatus has created, a kind of situation where their problems, real problems, rather than addressing the problems of disability, the government creates one state apparatus, and they shift throw all those issues under the carpet, so that people is a differently able person At the same time, you'll say, oh, I feel inspired by you. All those things are, inspiring pornos, nothing more than that. Then what next? Let's get back. We see the right to education in the 20th century, the growth of a special school for children with disabilities. From there, because people started fighting. In the early 20th century, significant shift toward specialist education for disabled children. My topic is, it might sound a little boring. And at the same time, I say, until and unless we don't evaluate from where we have come over here, from how our understanding was created, we won't be able to see, or we won't be able to do advocacy for the people, for all. That's what you need to see, right? So we see in this, after 20th century, lots of problems were there. Small number of children attended mainstream schools. 1921, where more than 300 institutions for blind, deaf, crippled, tubercular, or epileptic children. After that, we'll see in that, what was the situation in 20th century? Everyday life and work, disabled people in the community in the early 20th century. We see over here, number of disabled people in institution grew in the first half of 20th century. The majority remained in their communities. No, they were not allowed to come ahead. That was the problem. So there was the problem. And in order to tame their conscience, it happened. So people were uniting themselves. They started to talk about disability. If we see in 1945, when war was over, and now the fight begins from there, 1945, after that, because in 1940, the Second World War ended in 1945, the true extent of its horrors began to emerge, because those today were very handsome fighter, and those people who are termed as, oh yeah, very patriotic people, you have to fight for the nation. Those people, they came as in their distorted form. No legs, limbs, or even both the legs were imputed. At the same time, hands were cut and thrown as a body only. Those people who fought for the sake of their nation, they were nowhere. That's why they started talking about this. So we see as the Second World War ended in 1945, we see the horror of it. And among these was the mass killing of disabled people in Germany, especially in Nazi's government. We see how disabled were completely terminated because they were taken as a burden for the society. And at the time, we see the appetite had lessened. The eugenist, Anybody? Would you like to say the meaning of eugenist? Come on, have a wild guess. Because look, I'm going through this while diving into the history, there will be a problem. Eugenist, anybody? Jimmy, sir, I think I need your intervention over there so that our listeners or audience will be there.
We are inviting our guests to be more interactive. I know you guys have been listening since this morning. This is the final request only from the last speaker. Be a little more interactive. It's some kind of theoretical, I know. Okay, what was the question again, sir? If anyone knows what's the term?
Sir, I said the appetite had lessened. The eugenist came into the beginning because after 1945, we see the mass killing, mass eradication of disability people. It started from Germany and spread from Germany to especially England, America, and other countries as well. From there, the politics of disability started. That's why eugenist is a term coined by this to check whether the person is good or bad in that embryonic stage as well.
Okay.
Just dominate from the very beginning. It's because of this medical fascinated. One of our friend Milon, he talked about, he's not there. He mentioned that a little bit, we discussed about the varieties of disability. Since I'm diving into the history of disability, how it began. After that, I'll be talking to you about women's rights. And then only gender, equality, disability, and social inclusion. What's the limits and delimits? I'll conclude in a few minutes. It's so eugenist theories that had circulated in the pre-war period advocating isolation and sterilization of disabled people. Sterilization of disabled people, it's another topic where we see that their desires were killed using medicines. So we see in England a legacy of the war. Those people who fought for the nation was 300,000 disabled servicemen and women and civilians. 300,000 people were living in a horror. Those who fought for their nations. And these people gathered and started, what about us? What about you? What about energy we have invested in that nation? And we are now grown. What is that? They were there raising these questions, or very fiery questions. And then only it started, the public concern shifted to those who had sacrificed their bodies for the country. Then only people started thinking, oh my God, disability can be created anytime. That's why it's not only a medical thing, it's the more than that. So we see, as I told you, Jimmy sir, it's very fascinating and interesting history, interesting journey of this disability. We have to know this one. So beginning of community, we say back to the community, disability, equality, rights and inclusion, 1951, only 800 people took part in a silent reproach march to Downing Street. From there, it is said that, okay, in 1946, National Cripples Journal had lambasted the government's promise of security from cradle to grave. There is a term called cradle to grave. Those who are very much interested in literature, social science, or sociology will know this one as a cradle. It's nothing more than cradle to grave, claiming that it did nothing to the civilian cripple. Those people, I reiterate once again, who gave their life for the sake of their nation, left nowhere, and they were bound to fight for their right. From there, the disability began as a discourse, and we'll see here. Disabled people must be part of all, not that one neglected people. We see in that way. So disability and sport in 1944 and late 1955, it was mulled over to quell them, to quiet them, the disabled fighters. The birth of the Paralympics, from rehabilitation to world-class performance, it all began in 1944. We see competitive dressing exercises on what was known as Ward X stroke Melville Hospital, Buckinghamshire. There is a history, there is a written history how it began. Those people, those fighters, veteran fighters, war injured, paralyzed young men on the ward raced each other to get up from their beds, dressed and into their wheelchair. And at the same time, when people started talking about, they came into this mainstreaming society of separate community. That began the narratives of buildings. People wanted to enter in the building, but it was inaccessible. That's why the mainstream society or the separate of community begins with this. And it's very interesting. You know, the narrative of building have often occupied a controversial place in the history of people with disabilities. Itself is a fascinating manner. If we see into the monasteries or the churches or the chapels, it does have another history. The way it had completely utilized the social economy in order to just to beautify some of the people's life. And we see over here how disabilities were kept in that asylum in 19th century, safety for vulnerable people. Others were at the time and since have been them as placed for incarceration. They were killed, excluded people from society. Convenience place for inconvenient people, as historian has described them. Madhouse or mad people, disability was taken as that way because they're termed as, they are nothing more than burden for the society. That was taken in the beginning. And 18th century, we see both as a place of humanity and repercussion. For people suffering mental illness and abusive intuitions for locking away unwanted family members, disability were taken as unwanted family members at the time. Those people, those people who sacrificed their life for the sake of their nation where suddenly became unwanted left. I see Keith has written over here, only 3 minutes to go. I have to highlight the how women's and gender equality started. So we see disability, varieties of disability, autism, delimiting. Yeah, I need to come back over here, the topic, delimiting, because disability is constructed historically, says Professor Dr. Lena Davis, Professor Dr. Gregor Waldring, at the same time, Professor Dr. Professor Dr. Faye Weldon has also mentioned about this one only. And lately in Australia, very famous book, which I'm reading this one only. You see, if you say, I'll read it for you. Disability in Australia, exposing a social apartheid. This is the place, Australia is one of the best places where on top of that, our university, Flinders, third lived city in the world, livable city, such beautiful place from here. Why beautiful? In another way, maybe the definition of beauty vary, but it's because of the accessibility. In these kinds of situation as well, Professor Dr. Gerard Goggin and Christopher Newell, both of them scholar from Tasmania University, has written Disability in Australia, Exposing a Social Apartheid. What does that mean, apartheid? It's someday, another day, we'll be having conversation on this since Keith is pointing out this. Come on. Let me come back over here. So these professors, they have invested their life for that. What they mean to say is that disability is a political fight, not a medical one. It's a mortal battle from time immemorial that is started based on the charity to modern fight in identity base. Today, all the people around the globe, they have to convert, they have to raise their voice, write, find out, and speak for the people, for the better world. Understand? Befitting for the time, preparing for all, the world of all, not a utopian. It sounds utopian, but it's not. And then only it will be egalitarian and equal society. And then only gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. At that time only it will be. But the fight is going on and on and on. That's why we cannot say this one. Keith has sent another message saying that in 1 minute I have to talk about once again. So I want to dive into women's rights. Hi, in late 1700, there was a book published by 1792 by Mary Wollstonecraft. She wrote a book called A Vindication of the Rights of Women. It was published in 1792, and that laid the foundation. The book is called The Vindication of Women's Rights. I don't have time, so directly I need to come back over there based on this. Many more fights were there in 1848 to 1917. The women's rights movement started. Yeah, and 65th, 73 Congress, women members of in 1970 to 34, Education Resource and Women Congress. And then 1949, there is another brilliant writer, Simone de Beauvoir. She came with a book called The Second Sex, where she says that, okay, women are not born, they're created and constructed by the society. Okay, due to the time limitations, and I have to delimit my conversation over here. Come on, your question, please. Thank you, Jimmy, sir. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I know you're the last speaker for the day, and you've been really wrapping it up. But I'm pretty sure our participants are still listening carefully to you. So again, there you have it. Sir Jalisha Saab from Nepal will talk about the limits and the limits of Gen Z. Now, I'd like again to encourage our participants to ask questions. If you're shy, to shut it up. Just simply write down here the chat box, and I'm going to read it out. Okay.
Yeah, come on, question, please.
Anyway, this is still related with the international world of disability. I'd like again to ask our participants to please to write down your questions if you have some in mind. Okay, I probably asked Sir Kit to do the job first to ask the question. Sir Kit, we're down to the final speaker. Any question, please?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Keith.
Good to see you virtually.
Thank you, Dost.
Yeah. So my question for you is the concern about Gen Z relevant for this generation?
Okay, that's the question.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions so that I can just answer it? Thank you, Keith, for this question. It is relevant in today's context as it was in the beginning, because until and unless we don't relearn ourselves, there are two kinds of all of we are going to have very two kinds of education in coming days. One is just for our certificate, or that we guarantee, most probably guarantee our livelihood. Another is for to understand the longing and the belonging, that the term I use over here, the longing and the belongingness of this. Who am I when we ask this question? And while answering this, when we say we'll be able to understand the importance of Gen Z, because gender, it's not the way how they are marginalized. Women in some of the places is still are marginalized, or in some of the places they are not, or they are in the ruling, yet they are suffering. What might be the reason behind this? And we see all those their brains have been captured by these corporate houses in the form of saying this beautification, and that is what is seizing the brain of this coming generations. Once they understand theoretically that they have to educate themselves, they have to understand the politics, they have to understand their identity. We'll know this one only. That is gender related. It's not only biological. It's the society. It's the politics they created. And then only first understand, get your conscience, equip it theoretically, understand it philosophically, and then only equality starts to have. Then disability, social inclusions. First of all, we have to see, varieties of disabilities are there, but that is only addressed, that is possible to address, and that is possible to guarantee the means of livelihood. Unless it is not addressed, there won't be any kinds of equal and equitable society. That's why gender equality, disability, and social inclusion will be only possible once people understand the theory behind this, how we are. This is what I think, Keith. Hopefully I've answered this. It's a long, in fact, your question is, it demands another half an hour to speak to me, but I think lots of our audience are a bit tired. Any other questions? Thank you, Keith, for the question.
Well, I guess none of our business now have the questions, and definitely you actually wrap up in your speech what the other 5 speakers have presented. So thank you very much for doing such kind of a job. And again, sir, thank you for inspiring everyone.
Thank you, sir.
So there you have it, guys. Again, we want to say thank you to FAM Talk, Episode 1, Gender Equality and Disability. Again, we want to say thank you to all our speakers, Abel from Fiji, Tuan from Sri Lanka, Moayat from Maldives, Chinda from Cambodia, Milan from Bangladesh, and of course, our last speaker who wrap up everything about the limits of Gen Z, Sir Jilishan Sa. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you for giving us pieces of information and somehow sharing your experience. To all our speakers, good luck to you and God bless. So it's time to wrap it up this day, sponsored by an international organization of researchers, investors, and Extensions Incorporated, together with the Flinders University Australia Awards Network. Let's have the closing remark from Dr. Charles Isulan. Let's give him a big round of applause. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Establishing oneness among all young people will always require making strides toward achieving gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. In behalf of the International Organization of Researchers, Inventors, and Extensionists Incorporated, in the collaboration of Flinders University Australia Awards Network, I would like to express my gratitude of being with us today. to our resource speakers, Sir Abel Lalagavesi from Fiji Island, Sir Tuan Mohammed Rushidi Kasi from Sri Lanka, Sir Muwatyat Mohammed Didi from Maldives, Ma'am Chinda Min from Cambodia, Sir Milon Alimuzaman from Bangladesh, and Sir Jaleshan Saha of Nepal. Thank you for this opportunity. You had let us grow and able to look for the efficient means in dealing gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. And to our dearest participants, it will always seek to achieve to improve the goal of this program. And the Promote has contributed to this goal in a variety of different ways until this point. After all of our resource speakers shared unique points of view, it will always seek to achieve and improve the goal of these organizations. In addition, this will encourage active involvement at all levels and also contribute to the creation of systematic change in our society in a way that is both sustainable and responsible. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc Charles, for wrapping up this beautiful day. So again, to all our speakers, congratulations. You guys have empowered us with a piece of information and knowledge as well. And of course, this is a beautiful Saturday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And again, from the Philippines, advance Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a great day. you.